At Oxford College of Business, we offer world-class business qualifications awarded by some of the best universities in the world. That's because all we do, all we are, is business education.
සුළු හා මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යවසායකයන් ආර්ථිකයේ 50% පමණ දායකත්වයේ දරන සුළු සහ මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යවසායකින් ආර්ථික සංවර්ධනයේ ප්‍රධාන සාධකයක් වෙනවා. සම්ප්‍රදායික සංකල්ප මත සුරකුම් මත පමණක් ණය ලබා දීම බැංකු විසින් තවමත් කටයුතු කිරීම සහ ව්‍යාපාර සැලසුම් මත මූල්‍ය සම්පාදනය කිරීමට ඉදිරිපත් නොවීම හේතුවෙන් මූල්‍ය පහසුකම් වෙත ප්‍රවේශ වීම සීමා සහිත වීම හේතුවෙන් සුළු සහ මධ්‍යම පරිමාණ ව්‍යාපාරික පුරුල් කිරීම හා වර්ධනය දැඩි ලෙස සීමා වී තිබෙනවා. එම නිසා සුරකුම් නොමැතිවීම ගැටලුවට විසඳුමක් ලෙස සහ සුළු සහ මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යවසායවලට මූල්‍ය පහසුකම් සඳහා ඇති ප්‍රවේශයන් පහසු කිරීම සඳහා අප විසින් දැනටමත් සුළු හා මධ්‍යම පරිමාණ ව්‍යාපාර ණය සුරුකුම් ක්‍රමයකින් ආරම්භ කරනු ඇති අතර එහි මූල්‍ය ප්‍රාග්ධන ලෙස රුපියල් මිලියන් 500ක් වෙන් කිරීමට මා යෝජනා කරනවා. මෙම යෝජනා ක්‍රමය සාර්ථකත්වය මත ආසියානු සංවර්ධන බැංකුවේ ඇමරිකන් ඩොලර් මිලියන් 100ක් සපයමින් රජයේ කැපවීමට සහාය වෙනවා. මේට අමතරව බැංකුවලට ඔවුන්ගේ ණය කළඹින් 10%ක් සුළු හා මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යාපාර ක්ෂේත්‍රය සඳහා වෙන් කිරීමට බැංකු යොමු කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම කෘෂි කර්මය, දීවර කර්මාන්තය, පශු සම්පත්, මල් වගාව, ගෙවතු වගාව, ලුහු එන්ජිනේරු, මුද්‍රණ සංචාර ව්‍යාපාර, අත්කම් හා ඇඟලුම් වැනි ක්ෂේත්‍රවල නියුතු සුළු හා මධ්‍යම පරිමාණ ව්‍යවසායකින් වෙනුවෙන් ඒ ව්‍යාපාරයේ වෙළඳ පිරිවැටුම සහ නිෂ්පාදනය කරනු ලබන රැකියා ප්‍රමාණය මත පදනම් සහන්දායි ණය යෝජනා ක්‍රම ලබා දීම මගින් පහසුකම් සැලසීමට අපි කටයුතු කරනවා. වෙළඳ පිරිවැටුම රුපියල් මිලියන් 25 සිට රුපියල් මිලියන් 250 දක්වා අතර සහ සේවක සංඛ්‍යාව 10ත් 50ත් අතර වන ව්‍යවසායකින් වෙනුවෙන් 50%ක සහනාදායි පොලි අනුපාතයක් මත ණය ලබා දෙන ඇත. වෙළඳ පිරිවැටුම මිලියන් 250ක සිට රුපියල් මිලියන් 750ක අතර වන අවම වශයෙන් රැකියා අවස්ථා 50ත් 300ත් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක් උත්පාදනය කරනු ලබන ව්‍යවසායකින් වෙනුවෙන් 25%ක පොලි සහනයක් මත ණය ලබා දීම සඳහා කටයුතු කරනවා. මේ වෙනුවෙන් රුපියල් මිලියන් 750ක් වෙන් කිරීමට මා යෝජනා කරනවා. කලකට ඉහතදී ඉතාමත් සමුද්දිමත් පැවති රෙදි පිළිහා අත්‍යන්ත්‍ර කර්මාන්තය නැවත ජීවය ලබා දීමට දැඩි අවශ්‍යතාවයන් අපට තිබෙනවා. මෙම නිෂ්පාදනය සඳහා සැලකිය යුතු මට්ටමේ දේශීය වෙළඳ පොළක් පවතන අතර මේ මගින් සඳහා කර්මාන්ත සංවර්ධනය මණ්ඩලය හරහා අවශ්‍ය යටිතාල පහසුකම් සැපයීමට සහ පුහුණුව ලබා දීමට මම නිර්දේශ කරනවා. එසේම සුළු පරිමාණ කර්මාන්ත ප්‍රවර්ධනය සඳහා තම දැනුම වර්ධනය කර ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය කර්මාන්තකරුවන් වෙත එම සහයෝග ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරන මෙයින් කාර්මික සංවර්ධන මණ්ඩලයෙන් මා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. මෙම කාර්ය සඳහා රුපියල් මිලියන් 500ක් මුදලක් වෙන් කිරීමට මා යෝජනා කරනවා. දේශීය කලාකරුවන්ගේ නිෂ්පාදනය ප්‍රදර්ශන කිරීමද ලක්සල විසින් ඉතා වැදගත් කාර්යභාරයක් ඉටු කිරීමට ප්‍රමුඛ ස්ථානයක් ගත යුතුයි සඳහන් කරනවා. වර්තමානයේදී මේ දේශීය කලාකරුවන් දැඩි මූල්‍ය ගැටලුව මුහුණ පා සිටිනවා. මෙම කර්මාන්තයේ සැලකිය යුතු පිරිසක් සේව නියුක්තිය සිටින බැවින් ලක්සල විසින් ඔවුන් වෙත ගෙවිය යුතු හිඟ මුදලක් මාසය කාලයක් තුළ ගෙවා නිදහස් කරන ලෙස මා මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඉල්ලා දක්වනවා. කොළඹ නගරේ විශේෂිත අත්කම් අලෙවි මධ්‍යස්ථාන රජයේ පෞද්ගලික හා දේශීය සහයෝගීතාවය PPP පදනමින් ස්ථාපිත කිරීමට යෝජනා කරන අතර එමගින් සුළු සහ මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යවසායකයන්ට සහ තොග වෙළඳාම විශේෂයෙන්ම අත්කම් රෙදිපිඩි හා පාවහන් කර්මාන්තය නියැලීමට ඉඩ ප්‍රස්ථා සලසා දෙනවා. 2017 වසරේ රුපියල් මිලියන් 100ක් වෙන් කිරීමට මං යෝජනා කරනවා. ඍජු සහ වක්‍ර රැකියා අවස්ථා 3,75,000ක් පමණ සපයනු ලබන උඩු හා පිගන් ගඩොල් කර්මාන්තය සඳහා අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රධාන දේශීය අමුද්‍රව්‍ය වන මැටි ලබා ගැනීමට පිළිබඳව ප්‍රබල ගැටලුවක් පවතිනවා. එකිනෙකාට පරස්පර රෙගුලාසි පැවැත්වීම මෙයට මූලික හේතුවයි. මෙම ගැටලුව විසඳීම සඳහා අතිගරු ජනාධිපති විසින් යෝජනා කරන ලද පරිදි මෙම කාරණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් උනන්දුතාවයක් දක්වන සියලුම පාර්ශ්වයන් නියෝජනය වන පරිදි පූර්ණ බලතල සහිත ඉහළ මට්ටමේ කොමිටුවක් පත් කිරීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. එසේම ඔබ නොදමන ලද පිගන් ගඩොල් සඳහා අගය එකතු කිරීමට හා රැකිරක්ෂා උත්පාදනය සඳහා බද්ධ ව්‍යාපාර කටයුතු ඇති කිරීමට ජොයින්ට් වෙන්චර් ඇති කිරීමට හැකියාව පිළිබඳ සොයා බැලීම දිරිමත් කරනවා. මෙරට දූපතක් වුවත් අපට අවශ්‍ය ලුණු ආනයන කිරීමට සිදුවීම හාස්‍යයට කරුණක්. එවැනි වටපිටාවක් යටතේ වැඩි ආයෝජනයක් ලබාගත හැකි වන පරිදි මෙම කර්මාන්තය රජය හා පුද්ගලික සහයෝගිතාවය ව්‍යාපාර සඳහා විවෘත කිරීමට මා යෝජනා කරනවා. සෞභාග්‍ය හා ස්මයිල් වැනි ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුව විසින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනු ලබන සියලු සහනදායි ණය සහ සුරකුම් යෝජනා ක්‍රම වෙනත් ණය යෝජනා ක්‍රම සමග ඒකාබද්ධ කිරීම සඳහා 2017 මාර්තු 31 වෙනිදා දින පෙර මහා භාණ්ඩාගාරය වෙත මාරු කරනු ලබනවා. කුඩා හා මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යාපාර ඉලක්ක කරගත් ණය යෝජනා ක්‍රම හඳුන්වා දීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. Investments. Honourable Speaker, investments are in the key and maintaining growth. In the last decade, investments were maintained at 30.1% of GDP, but the bulk of it came from the public sector. This resulted in the country carrying a debt burden of almost 76% of the GDP, which is higher than that of our peers. At the same time, private sector investments have been stagnant. However, given the fiscal constraints that the large debt burden has been imposed on us, I do not think that it's prudent to continue in the same vein and pile up more debt. The alternative is to facilitate more private sector investments and partnership between the private and the public sector. We must promote the investments in areas where the impact to economy is high due to value addition and employment creation. We will support domestic entrepreneurs, especially such as agriculture, manufacture, fisheries, ornamental fisheries, solar panel manufacturing, rolling stock, livestock and poultry tourism. To this end, we will be establishing the Agency for Development, which will enable the enhanced facilitation of the investment to Sri Lanka. However, should any decision on any potential investment take beyond 50 days, such potential investments and projects could be routed to the Ministry of National Policy and Economic Affairs, taking over the process. At the same time, Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade will recommend to the General Treasury for approvals on any incentives that will be provided to landmark investments to the country. Our government is committed in pursuing an economic policy that will ensure the creation of wealth and equal distribution of incomes. Given the GDP per capita is the lowest in the northern, eastern and Ua provinces, it is incumbent upon us to make a concerted effort to correct this situation. As such, I propose to grant a 200% capital allowance for businesses which will make investment in the northern province and 100% capital allowances for businesses which investments in Ua and eastern provinces over $3 million excluding land, and generate new employment opportunities for 250 or 3 to 5 year 50% tax holiday will be granted for such businesses, which will create 500 to 800 new employment opportunities respectively. Honourable Speaker, in pursuing high-impact investments, we are a government that will not hesitate to partner progressive thinking and calculate risk-taking. As such, any company, both domestic and foreign, with an investment between $5 million and 100 million, excluding the value of land, that is engaged in venture with more than 40% value addition and could generate employment for 500 employees, will be provided with a grant of 5% of investments at the end of the second year operation. If this is maintained for 5 years, the government will top up the investments by a further 5% on the original investment. We will also grant 100% capital allowances on all such businesses as well. For landmark investments of 100 million and up to 500 million, and the investments over 500 million and above will change our landscape. We will design a special incentive package with a specific tax concession, which will be with the Ministry of International Development and Strategic Development. In order to achieve the facilitate the smooth operation of their business investments, I propose to issue a 5-year multi-entry visa for such investors and their skilled expatriate labour. To give an impetus to the construction industry, which has shown significant growth potential, I propose to remove the cess of 25%, which is applicable on prefabricated structures. Honourable Speaker, capital infusion by way of productivity-enhancing machinery and equipment has been quite erratic in our business, resulting in the productivity remaining as stagnant or deteriorating. As such, I improve the capacity of our businesses. I propose to grant a 75% waiver on the PAL when importing high-tech automated machinery and equipment with the approval of the Ministry of Industries and Commerce. To improve the management and the quality of the services, we will invite private sector to manage and add value to existing BOI free trade zones in improving its competitiveness. Having studied the experience of India and Indonesia, I propose to introduce an Investment Inflow Management Act in due course to facilitate the inward remittances of foreign exchange with the minimal restrictions. We also invite foreign companies to take advantage of the interest differential that prevails between Sri Lanka and other countries. We will ensure enabling framework to create an international trading platform for such trading will be facilitated. There will be no taxes at all for any of these companies that will be registered on this basis. Honourable Speaker, we must make better use of our strategic location in the Indian Ocean. Given political stability and upholding of law and order, there is significant potential to attract the relocating of headquarters of international organizations and businesses. I am proud to say that the Asian Cricket Council has already established a headquarters in Colombo to encourage international organizations and business to locate Sri Lanka. I propose to exempt them from corporate taxes. We will also allow apparel companies based in Sri Lanka to invest overseas entities to involve in apparel design, manufacture up to 5% of their average export turnover of their preceding 3 years in any given year. Profits and income of such enterprises established overseas would be received by the investing company in Sri Lanka. A person resident in Sri Lanka who has made investments outside Sri Lanka through outward investment account and has received a capital gain on such investments will be permitted to reinvest through the same OIA up to 50% and the value of such capital gains received without being subject to limitations and a maximum value of investment that can be made by such persons outside Sri Lanka. Presently, any foreigner coming to Sri Lanka is required to declare foreign currency over US$ 15,000. I propose to increase this limit to 40,000. Any company is permitted to borrow internationally on the strength of their balance sheet, provided they hedge the exchange risk. Any violation of these directions is subject to a fine of 50 million. I also propose to remove the restrictions imposed on such borrowing by non-banking financial institutions to increase their foreign liabilities beyond 35% of total assets in the balance sheet. The Sri Lanka Telecom, Indian Revenue Department, Urban Development Authority and Sri Lanka Ports Authority will invest around 10 billion in iconic buildings which will change the Colombo's urban skyline. It is also expected that these buildings will be a hub for investment and economic activities. I propose to allocate 500 million to the IRD and the UDA for this purpose. At this time, I would also like to make a note. In the morning in the Cabinet meeting, the President and the Prime Minister directed there has been an anomaly in the Megapolis Ministry, and we will be allocating 7,500 million rupees from the Finance Ministry to Megapolis with immediate effect. Exports. Honourable Speaker, our export earnings have contracted mainly due to challenging global markets. Clearly, our exports, the products and the services need to diversify if it is to retain competitive edge. We must tap into the global value chain. Value addition, enhancing market access and innovation is the way forward. Our government has been proactive in facilitating trade by pursuing trade agreements with markets including Singapore, China, Japan, Korea, Bangladesh, and growing markets in Africa. Similar to success we achieved in revoking the ban on fishing exports to EU, as it was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, where our Prime Minister led the delegation to the European Union, and I'm confident that the discussions will ensure that we get the GSPs as soon as possible. Improving them, and this would help in a given year, almost $2 to $3 billion coming in on the 11% advantage that is there. This is what we lost out, and we, the government under President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, we have managed to regain it. Improving the macroeconomic fundamentals, especially maintaining stable exchange rate and a healthy reserve position, pivots mainly on strong export performance. However, with global outlook for trading remaining fairly sluggish, exports are faced with challenging environment. It is in this background that the government has decided to support the exporters. As such, there is an increase of 15% or more foreign currency earnings from a year of assessment, 2016 to 17, compared to 2015 to 16. The exporters will be granted a rebate of amount equal to 75% of the tax attributable to the excess earnings. The need for an Exim Bank is felt more than ever today. As such, we will commence operations of Exim Bank during 2017. The Exim Bank will have an initial capital of 25,000 million and will be a collaboration between the government and the industry. I propose to allocate 10,000 million as the government's initial contribution for this. To boost the exports of tourism, foreign direct investment and brand Sri Lanka, it is important that we undertake a strong, structured and the focused global marketing campaign. I propose to allocate Ministry of National Policy and Economic Affairs 1,000 million to undertake this campaign. At the same time, we will also ensure participation at trade fairs on an annual basis, such as Canton Fair, Indian and the German fairs, which will facilitate the process to develop a business relationship and market access. I also recommend to the Export Development Board, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau and Sri Lanka Tea Board, in collaboration with other promotional agencies and private sector, to organize an annually exhibition in Sri Lanka called Colombo Fair. And this will showcase for all Sri Lankan products and services, and the first of which will be held in October 2017. As such, I propose to allocate 50 million for this purpose. Honourable Speaker, I don't think we have fully realized the benefit of the expressways in our country. We must capitalize on the benefits of expressways, bringing the encouraging economic activity. As such, I propose to encourage the private sector to partner with the government, creating private free trade zones along the expressway corridors. The government will provide the land for this purpose, and we will provide the electricity and water up to such zones. I propose to allocate 1,000 million for such a venture. At the same time, we also encourage establishing 4 free trade zones targeting industries such as rubber-based products, pharmaceuticals, fabric manufacturing, minerals, chemical and automotive industry in Kalutara, Kalutara district, in Ratnapura, Putlam and Vaunia district. To harness the benefits of specialization, we will establish 15 export villages on a PPP basis. We will focus mainly on the thrust industries such as IT, robotics, fashion, high-end apparel and boat manufacturing. Although we produce the best cinnamon in the world, almost 85% of cinnamon is exported in its raw form, and therefore I encourage the local producers and enhance the value addition export. Although the apparel and textile industry is a major exchange earner, almost 4,800 million in 2015, we imported fabrics to the tune of 2,296 million in 2015. Clearly, backward integration is vital, and as such, a context of textile cluster could be formed, which includes sizing, dyeing and finishing units by private sector. The government will support the venture by providing investment relief to the business, and that will invest in the venture and will also provide adequate space. This venture is estimated to save at least 2,000 million per annum. For this purpose, creating additional avenues for garment export, permission will be granted to import branded products by enterprises for reworking operating under commercial hub regulations, such as garments will be exported to countries where there is no preferential treatment. I also recommend allocating 50 million for Department of Commerce for trade promotional activities, especially SME products at international trading and promotional events. Honourable Speaker, since taking office, our government has been proactive in improving the performance of state-owned enterprises. And in fact, instead of becoming a drain on the government coffers, they have contributed 65 billion as levies and dividends so far in 2016, which is an increase of 50% over 2014. As stated by the Honourable Prime Minister, we will facilitate state-owned enterprises to become viable business entities. To that end, we will be ensuring that the state-owned enterprise will be able to have a cost-reflective pricing structures and operational autonomy in this background. Government will also enter into performance contracts with selected state-owned enterprises with regard to key performance indicators. I wish to report to the House that Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Air, which has been generating colossal losses. If I mention on Sri Lankan, the liability as of 31st March 2015 was 146 billion, and as of 2016, it was 151 billion. They are now being commercialized and international collaborations. In fact, we have now merged Mihin Air operations with Sri Lankan Airlines. As a part of restructuring of the state-owned enterprises in line with growing market trends, Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation established a mega showroom which will carry all household items and appliances, for which I propose allocate 100 million. We will also list non-strategic enterprises such as Hyatt, Grand Oriental Hotel, Water's Edge, West Coast, Manthai Salt, Hambantota Salt, Hilton during 2017. Broad-basing the ownership is expected that such listings will allow the government to raise at least 1,000 million to settle our existing uneconomical, questionable and high-cost debt that we inherited from the previous regime. We will also inform the Parliament of any other planned listing that may be undertaken during 2017. Including Mobitel, will be made to go public listing, which is a request that has been made by the company itself. Maritime economy. Honourable Speaker, the contribution of maritime sector to GDP at around 2.5% is clear indication that we will have not adequately harnessed the country's strategic location in Central Silk Route. Our main aim is to position Sri Lanka as a leading maritime hub in Asia. It is in that background that the government has decided to create the enabling environment for maritime economy to be a significant contributor to the country's economic growth. This requires a significant reform. I encourage the establishment of a maritime authority with the participation of private sector and would be instrumental in creating a level playing field and credible regulatory mechanism. At this stage, encourage more vessels to obtain ancillary services such as ship supplies, bunkers, crew changes. I propose to have a free port anchorage for fee of 12 hours. As of now, almost 200, 300 ships move out with not a single coming owing to the excessive charges. So this is something to incentivize them. I also propose the bulk chartered cargo charges to be at 15% of freight on board or applied freight charges, whichever is lower, with the immediate effect. With the country becoming a tourist destination, cruise vessels' arrival has increased. As such, steps should be taken to allocate and develop a dedicated berth at Bandaranaike for cruise vessel handling, a logistical hub. Honourable Speaker, despite many deliberations on Sri Lanka being a commercial hub, the performance in that sector is not visible, where not many foreign or local investors have been able to attract to create a hyperactivity. We have had enough consultation with stakeholders such as hub operators, and it is now brought to our attention that if present issues are pragmatically not handled, the potential for improving export performance by the sector is in an exponential manner and is extremely high. The main issue highlighted were a lack of space for establishing new enterprises or expanding enterprises within the areas identified the purpose, restrictive investment regime, and a lack of proper guidelines.